Okay, let's talk about the taxi for a minute. I have to admit that I thought that this taxi itself never existed. That's what I thought at first. Okay, but now I've seen a video of it sitting in a garage, lit beautifully. Let's see. Can you see that? Yeah, lit beautifully. I just don't think they can CGI to that quality of an image. So I'm going to say that this taxi exists in a reality. This minivan, anyway. So that has to change my take on this a little bit. Instead of all this being movie, I mean it's all movie to me. Okay, still, but they just did it. They did it differently. Okay, before the van gets hit, this is my take on it. It is CGI of that van. Okay, and then I'm gonna come in, get hit. And at some point, this is the one where the people drive right up to him. Maybe here, somewhere. I'm going to pause it. Somewhere before he gets out of the van, my guess is they transition to a studio shot, a pre-recorded shot of this actual guy walking out and walking back and whatever he did. And plus they got all the imaging of all the way around the real van. So up until this point, this van is CGI in my opinion. And then it becomes a real image or something like that. They're inserting, what I'm saying is they're inserting images of a real guy getting out of a really messed up van and walking over there and coming back and whatnot. Okay, so I had to change that a little bit. So the plane is CGI, and all this, I don't know if they got a drive-through and got images that way, or if they just CGI'd it all. I don't know. But it is movie for sure. And you say, well, what about the other dash cams? Are they all movie? Yeah. But they can't make 3 little movies. Come on, these are movie makers. They can do it. They can make 3 little movies, 3, 4. They can make 100 movies. Okay. A lot of people are worried that they're convinced that this has to be real because there's too many images for them to fake. I don't know why. Is there some threshold where you get enough images, it has to be real? So if they make a movie long enough, you believe it's real, it's in reality now? Is that what you're saying? I think that's what you're saying. So there's some threshold where, oh, it's too many images or it's too hard. They couldn't have done this much. But you don't know their capabilities, okay? And you don't know their budget. You know, if it's the elite, they have free money so they can do as much movie making as they want. Okay, so let's go. So right here, probably somewhere is a transition from an image, a digital image of the van, to an actual image of the van. And he's going to get out and walk around. There's all kinds of weirdness about this taxi story. He's going to get out of the real van, see? Supposedly there's a passenger in there. They could, I mean, if they're in a studio or some other setting filming this, they could have put an actual person in there, no problem. Okay, so, but in reality, I don't think this van is on the bridge at all. Okay, and you can see the slick, the oil slick. You don't get to see that. These oil slicks leave a stain. They last forever. Unless you repave it, it's always going to be there, even if you clean it up. Okay, you don't see it on the flyovers. I couldn't pick out a taxi sign on top. It's so far away that I can't tell if I could see one or not. He hit the brake, supposedly hit the brake, so that kind of blurred whether there was a taxi on there or not. So I don't know. There's a bezel up there for a taxi sign. There's some question about whether this is an actual license plate. We'll go up there and we'll check that out. He's going to do his walk around. He's supposedly cut. His arms are all cut up or whatever. But he's wearing that nice jacket. I don't see him getting all cut up. Alright. That was a very brief look. I would be like hanging there going, oh my god. That was enough for him, okay? Because he's in a studio somewhere doing a little walk around, or they're in a parking lot or wherever they shot that. And this is a beautiful day for a hoax because there's no shadows. No shadows. Not even on the rooftop where the guy's running around. Those are all reflections. There's tons of reflections. You know a reflection because it always points at the camera. Okay? But no shadows makes hoaxing so easy because it's nice and overcast. You don't have to deal with making things line up anymore. So everything's perfect for a hoax here. Let's go back. I'll pause it right there. You got 1598D. And if we go to my video about the about Google Park, somewhere down here, I'm talking to Tell It Like It Is, and he's doing some digging, so I appreciate that. He put a link down here to Wikipedia and what license plates look like in Taiwan. Let's go up to taxis. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, light vehicle. So your car is a light vehicle and a taxi is a light vehicle. Okay. So it should have been one of these 3 letters and 3 numbers, or 2 letters and 3 numbers, but it was 3 numbers and an 8 and a D. So if this is all for real, this is Wikipedia, who knows, then that wasn't a legit license plate. Okay? So take that as evidence if you like. Let's go back. So I don't think that's a real taxi. I mean, I think this is a real taxi. But we'll get to that later in a minute. You may or may not see the passenger in there. It's a handicap accessible, but the passenger, I'm assuming, isn't handicapped, which is odd because he opens up the hatch to where the person isn't. What's he checking on? I don't know what he's checking on. If the passenger is up in the passenger seat for the non-handicapped people, what's he checking on? Why is he doing that? I don't know. Okay, he's just gonna do it again. Oh, my head or whatever. Cut my hands. Don't run me over. Okay. And here he is. This is what I don't understand. Is the traffic shut down? It looks like people are driving by. In reality, they would shut the traffic down. Okay. I'm pretty sure. And here he is sitting here texting. Did the ambulance not come yet? Where's the passenger? Wouldn't they take the passenger out of the minivan, out of the van? Did the passenger get taken away to the hospital? Supposedly they both went to the hospital. He seemed fine to me, but he had to stay overnight at least in a hospital. Wow. So did they take her away? Did they leave her in the van that might catch fire? Or we just don't get to see her for some odd reason. And then they show the tower there. Okay, this tower doesn't exist. In reality, I'll get to that in a minute. The transmission tower, that doesn't exist. Okay, so to me, this is a real minivan, and they did a walk around on a green screen set and then inserted that into their animation of a plane crash. So that's how they did that. That's my take on it. Very realistic. Very realistic, this right here. And you can see up top in this video, I'll put a link to it, there's a little bezel for where you would put a taxi sign. Yeah, you can see it. That's where you would put a taxi sign. And it's also scraped up on top, which I don't understand. Where is the plane hitting? Is it hitting the roof, or what the fuck is going on? Okay, so let's go to this story here. Okay, here's the story. Science 2.0. Now, I actually hadn't looked for a story that linked this transmission tower, which I believe is fake, to the story of the crash, but apparently I recently did, and here's a story about it. Science 2.0 put out at least 2 stories on it, where they're theorizing that the pilot did try to avoid the power lines. So that actually did make it into the story. I wasn't sure that it had, but it did make it in. This one is called TransAsia GE 235 accident dash taxi transmission lines and FDR details. So I'll go into that in a second, but I want to focus on the taxi for a minute, since I've already talked about the power lines. Okay, here's a good image. This is good because they have all the images right here. Nice and handy. I think that this taxi is a real taxi, right? That's my take. And it was either in a rollover or a tree hit it. I don't think this damage happened by the plane, because what pushed the roof down? Ask yourself that. I mean, did the wing rip this out and pull the roof down, or push it down and scratch the top? You know, in this other photo you can see that the roof is scratched up here. So that's consistent with, to me, consistent with a rollover or a tree falling on it. It pushed the roof down and pops this pillar out. And also, did the wing, I'll use my finger, did the wing reach around and snap that mirror down, snap that mirror off? Did the wing, as it's traveling through this pillar, did it reach over and pull that hood back? Did it also push this headlight in? That headlight is pushed in. You know, they may have changed out this front plastic piece. There's no like emblems or markings on it. It's like a brand new one, so they may have changed that out to hide any evidence that it was either a rollover or a tree hit it or something. So this is smashed in. This makes sense. Let's imagine an airplane wing coming in. Da, da, da. This is the lowest point. It's the first point. So the wing is already this low, if you can imagine it getting over all this stuff and getting down to here without hitting anything else. Okay, it's this low, and then it's traveling, imagine a diagonal across the hood and through this pillar. And it's getting lower all the time. The plane is getting lower and lower and lower. At some point, the wing snaps off. But it can't snap off here, right? Because it still does damage over here. So you know it has to, assuming this is a real story, which it isn't, the wing would have to be intact all the way over to this point, even though it's plummeting downward. Even though it's plummeting downward at the same time, intact, and then it gets over to this pillar, and that's the last point that it's contacting the car, and then it snapped. Then the wing snaps off because it can't snap off anywhere else. It has to be here. Can't snap off after. It has to be right there. And then it reaches backwards, grabs the hood, and pulls it backwards, and also reaches around and snaps snaps the mirror off. I think it makes sense that this was either in a rollover or a tree hit it. Tree fell on it. Okay, and there's the guy again. All this bridge stuff. Any scene on the bridge is some form of movie, right? These people aren't on the bridge, okay? In reality, they would have roped that for the purposes of their drill / movie making, they would have roped this off. So no one, even though they show people traveling on the bridge, no one really in reality was on the bridge. So that means every scene where you see, like from a drone or whatever, let's go click this. Every scene, this is from a drone, has to be, if I'm correct, has to be movie images, and these people are all either CGI or green screened in or something. And this particular one, I'll put a link to this one, shows the boats twirling around and whatever. I'm just going to play it. So if you watch this with the mind that it's a movie, you might discern that it does look odd. I personally believe if you recreated this in reality and then filmed it just like this from a drone, it would not look exactly like this. I think it would look different. And if you held the two together, you would say, well, this one's odd, the one that they're showing right now. This one's just, you would see the difference. The boats twirling around down there, they'd look funny. And you can always chalk that up to, video compression or whatever. It's poor quality, blah, blah, blah. That's what they hide behind. It's interesting, too, that this section of bridge, I'm going to pause it. This section of bridge right here is the darkest section. You won't see this. See how light this is? This is the only dark section on that road. And that's where the crash took place. And that's where there should be a big old oil stain, which you can't find. You won't see it. If you do see it, let me know. And this one, they won't go all the way over to where the van should have been. So that's too bad. And so we're still talking about the minivan. Okay. Now this is another drone footage. We're coming in from over here. All these little boats look silly, you know, making little white trails or whatever. To me, if you watch it. But the odd thing is, I think they have it roped off now. So you saw in that last one, in the earlier part, they had the bridge roped off. Even that was a movie, but right down here, I'm gonna use my finger. Right down there is the minivan. That's the taxi. They brought it down to street level. Why? Ask yourself why they would do that. Okay, first of all, they roped it off, right? You just saw that they had it roped off. Well, why not leave it there and take all your measurements and shit, right? Leave it there. It's already roped off. You're not blocking any traffic just to do that. It's already blocked. But no, they want us to believe that they towed the taxi instead of taking it to wherever they take these things. They towed it down to street level and people are walking around it photographing it. I think what really happened is when the crash was, just before the crash started, was supposed to be an alert, like, oh, the crash happened. I think they got set up for their drill, right? And they put out. See, nothing has happened on the news, so you don't know what the hell's going on, right? Nobody's going to go run and look. So you can do anything on this river at any time, and no one's going to think twice about it. So they put a little white blob out there for their motorboats to ride around or whatever. All right, so they're setting up for the drill under cover of nobody. The news hasn't hit the news yet. The story hasn't hit the news yet. So, and they block off this bridge, right? So no one's going to see anything because it's blocked off. And then at some point, instead of really in movie time bringing this minivan down to here, they actually drive it from the garage or wherever they actually have it, and they put it on the street. So it may actually have been there. But they may actually have put it there as a photo op, is what I think. Now, I've already said in comments that I think all this water scene was filmed earlier. So you're going to see real wreckage that they filmed earlier somewhere else warmer and not as sewagey as this river is. So whatever the boats were spinning around on the day while they held a drill on shore with all the ambulances, that I think was filmed in real time. Whatever they had out there, it could have just something white. I mean, you're not going to be able to see from a million miles away what it is. So I don't think they were too concerned. And how do you know any images from real people ever hit the web? I don't know that. I think they're all media images. And you can see people walking around the taxi. So I don't know. The license plate on the taxi doesn't add up to taxi. It could have been a taxi, but I mean, the registration was fictitious. All right, let's go back to the story. Okay, so I think this is a real taxi. These people aren't really on the bridge, and you're not going to see an oil slick right down here. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, right down here, see this orange? That is the street that's down on ground level where they took it to. So if you see video of people walking around it, I'll put a link to that video too. They're down at street level. Okay. The taxi, they hauled it there and that's it. It wasn't on the bridge. Okay, so now to the power lines. They actually did use the power line angle that at least in this article here, they did say that they're trying to avoid the power lines. See, they got them in blue right there. I think you can see them. Okay. And if you're on Google Maps, and this is where they are, down across the river, you can look backwards this way and see the power lines going that way, the ones in blue here. And that's approximately what you would see. But I'm saying that this tower doesn't exist. This one over here. And they put it in as an element to their story. You know, an added fantastic element. Oh, we got to miss the power lines. If you read this article and the other article, there's so much that doesn't add up. Anyways, well, they confirm what I said, that there's thousands of volts going to that tower. Okay? They said as much as 110 to 160,000 volts. So that means that at street level, since there's no transformer, it just comes straight down and then transitions to insulated cable and then goes into the ground. No transformer. that means it's full voltage, like as if you were just standing right next to this shit here. It's all the same. They don't actually show street level. They show. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling. They go down to bridge level, and that's it, and show the power lines. So if somebody wrote to these yahoos and said, "Hey, check out street level," then I wonder what Science 2.0 would think about all this. So they're saying they didn't even get this right, really. They're saying he flew this way and then he was gonna go over here and land or whatever. But actually he was the plane. Zoom in. The plane was heading this way, more in line with the purple arrow, so never mind what this shows. He's heading this way, so if he was going to try and bank around to land that way, that would be impossible to do. It's like a 90-degree turn, so that wasn't going to work. And they're saying he rolled it, and it was a good thing he did, because it hit the taxi and slowed it down and blah blah blah. So there's really a story out there that he tried to miss the power lines, and I'm saying those power lines aren't there, because they were on Google Maps and you can't see the power lines from overhead. They were put in later, this 2008 image. I'm not going to go all through this again, but alright. The plane flew over this building. If you watch all the videos and check out all the angles, it flew over this building that they're putting together here, and then it flew next to this building that they're going to put together here, and it flew, basically rolled on its side and just went into the drink. Not what they say. They kind of have it doing something impossible. But anyways, that was the path, okay? Over this building, next to this building, and then rolling and then straight in. So he never actually did turn at all. There was no turn made. The article says that he yanked on the elevators to get it. I didn't see anything really moving except flaps when he passed by. There's a building back here that he passed by that the guy was running on top of the roof. All I saw was flaps moving, and that's it. No rudder, no nothing. No ailerons. Well, anyways, let's go down street level. So if he had gone down to street level, he would see this. He would see something that's impossible, which is thousands of volts, where anybody can touch them. Even though they're insulated, it's still thousands of volts. Okay? So you could take your machete or whatever you got and destroy that. You have to think in terms of public safety, you wouldn't do this, and in terms of the continuity of your electrical power, you wouldn't put it in harm's way like this just for accidents or terrorist purposes. This tower would be fenced in or up on a concrete pillar, and you wouldn't be able to get near it. So they really are pretending that this tower is here on top of this public seating area. You go there yourself. Now those people didn't dare show you this image, did they? No, but they are pushing the idea that the pilot was a hero for rolling the plane and missing the power lines. Okay, so it really is a theme of their story. In reality, you wouldn't bury this tower like this. These things don't last forever. The steel is going to corrode, and they'd end up taking these down. So they'd have to dig all this up And plus having the steel running through a planter right into soil is not realistic. And you need to inspect where these anchor points are. You need to know that those haven't rotted off. So they need to be out in the open and visible. What they're showing you is an impossibility. I guess people want to believe it because it's in Thailand. In Thailand, they don't care about public safety or whether their electrical grid is subject to damage from either car accident or sabotage. They don't care for some reason because of their culture or whatever. I don't know why you would think that. So, I've worked in substations and I've never seen anything like this. I can't even imagine this. Just from static, you could get whacked off of one of the covers to these boxes. You could get a massive shock from that. I've seen that happen. Okay, the covers to these boxes have a gasket, and it insulates them from the ground, and they build up a charge, and so just a little child is going to whack himself right off of that, potentially. All right, so that's crazy. So when in their movie, whenever you see images of the tower or the power lines or even cars on the bridge, probably even damage to the bridge, it's all movie. Okay? The power lines for sure. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think that the plane pushed the roof down? Do you think when the pillar got yanked that way, it pulled the roof down? How did this get folded back? I don't know. They could have, if this is, if I'm right, and they just used a previously messed up van, they may even added a few elements like cranking that backwards or whatever. Yeah. All right, well, finally, with respect to the tower and this seating area they put it on, I'm trying to ask, like, the big channel truthers, the ones with the round table discussion groups or whatever, what they think about it, and none of them get back to me and give me their opinion on it. I think that's odd. No matter which side you're on, if you were on the side where you're saying this is real, you would think that they would want someone who's pushing the real aspect of this would want to debunk this. Okay, but they don't even mention it. And people who are calling it a hoax, you'd think they would latch onto it and say, well, look at this. But they don't mention that either. So that has me wondering about all of these people, all the big channels here on YouTube, call themselves truthers, and they just ignore. And I'm not going to name names because, I can't be sure if they read all their messages and all that. But some of them I've hammered pretty good, like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And one guy said, one guy, I think it was a troll, he said that they made this image look funky. He said, yeah, it doesn't look right. He went that far. He says they made this image look funky in order to discredit the people who are calling it real. I thought that doesn't actually make sense because nobody is pushing this tower. Even the people who are calling it a hoax aren't even mentioning this tower. So that kind of blows that theory. If they put this, Google puts this in here intentionally to ruin someone's reputation, You would think they would have an operative ready to push this into that person's face, but no one does. I'm not an operative. I mean, it would get out there is what I'm saying. It's not even getting out there. So that theory is ridiculous. The only thing now that makes sense is that this tower is just part of their storyline. And I don't know how they get away with it. I just really don't know how they do it, but they do. They do get away with it. And here, there it is. That's an impossibility. Having thousands of volts right here, where you can touch these cables, would never be allowed. Not even in Asia. I would like to hear what these big channels think about this. What do you think? Go ahead and debunk it, please. Or if you're pushing the hoax angle, try to, at least give your opinion. What do you think? Okay, you're crazy. I think there's a big scam going on, and we have big channels pretending to be truthers. So they're doing all the work, and we're just sitting back and watching them. Okay, so when that happens, when we're all sitting back and watching, and if they're all agents of the elite world order or whatever, as a controlled opposition, if we're all sitting back and watching, then are we learning the truth? Or are we learning the version of the truth that they want us to see? So I suggest we all get off our asses and look into these things ourselves instead of pretending we're doing something by being fanboys and girls watching the bigger channels. Okay, well, good day.